Even though I wish the frequency of this item being dropped was a lot more, man do I love me some box chips. Literal cravings for the next 100 to hook me up with some Stone Age relics. We got most of the really good staples out of the way, so we can have some more fun this time. Just keep in mind as we go through this, none of these cards are really world beaters, just some more niche things to keep in mind. Into the Void is one of those tricky cards where it's generally good, but you wouldn't want to run it in a lot of things because of its downsides. It's a normal spell, draw a card if you got 3 or more in your hand, but you have to discard your entire hand during the end phase. Some of the only generic draw support we have, and in a 20 card format, it'll likely stay that way, barring some upstart goblin limit 1 bundle going on. To put it simply, running 3 Into the Void is practically like running a 17 card deck. So with the right hookup, it's an amazing boost to consistency. However, the 3 or more cards in your hand thing does matter and restricts this card a lot more than you'd think. And most decks, they like to keep cards in their hand for a follow-up. You ain't doing that with this card. However, this card has seen pretty consistent play its entire life. Not consistent meta play, but there's usually a deck going around that really meshes with it. Obviously, Infernity for a while, and they go for that 1 turn Unga Bunga slap across the face. You got 1 turn with that deck anyway, and you want an empty hand during the end phase as well. But you know, it's like death, taxes, launcher to 1, it's just life. But look, it's seeing pretty fierce meta play right now in Sky Striker. Not all of them, but a lot of decks do opt to run it there. But this is the new hotness from Striker expansion, and they want to dump spells in the grave as much as they can and get to their combo starters. And they don't really mind ending on an empty hand either because they have Engage, a card that can basically replenish that hand. Like, dude, I had the biggest double take of all time when I realized this card wasn't a hard once per turn. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, Into the Void just fits right in, but that's not even why it's here. It's mostly here for its future potential. I think it's a great card to get just because as the game increases in speed and the ability to gain advantage, it'll pop up from time to time and you may find yourself wanting it. Certainly not the first choice with box chips, but not a regrettable one either. I mean, we all know about Gozuki at this point. Like his brother, my man needs to be on those calf hops, but we can ignore that because it's been a successful year for my man, and he still carries that heavy work. Damn, I don't know why Konami decided 2024 was the year of the zombie. Maybe they have the real Mayan calendar and they're trying to warn us, but frankly, I'm cool with it. Zombies, generally speaking, have kind of run this game this year, you know, outside of that whole tachyon thing that happened. Man, we're gonna look back on that with humor, guys, I promise. Level 4 Earth Zombie, during your main phase on an ignition effect, Gozuki can send a zombie from deck to grave. And they kind of like that. You can also banish a zombie from your grave to special another zombie from your hand. They both are hard ones per turns. They're currently seeing some inconsistent play in pure zombies, but enough play and more consistent play in Shiranui. 2 of the best decks in the game right now. He pales in comparison to other zombie support, namely his effect being so vulnerable since it doesn't happen on his summon. But Gozuki is just what you need for certain situations, like enabling a Beatrice easier for Shiranui in the Tachyon meta. Like no other card could do what Gozuki does there. Things like that will at the very least keep Gozuki as a backburner card, kind of like Into the Void, but you know, has been power crept in a way in some ways by Samurai Skull, which is only a rare. But I think the zombie decks are in a good spot of being strong, but not too strong. So Gozuki could be relevant for a while. And the design, my man, it's like a trainer left his Darkrai and a Minotaur at the daycare. Dark World Dealings is like Into the Void, a generic draw power with pros and cons. Both players draw a card and then discard a card. And it's a Dark World card, so it's got that cute little ruling where the discard is the actual effect as opposed to being the cost. So it does proc effects like Shell Knight and Weathering Soldier and Fossil, or like any Shadow monster. But so the pros, ups consistency and can set up your graveyard. Cons, ups your opponent's consistency and sets up their graveyard. Yeah, this card is the definition of a double-edged sword. Sword. It's great once again in Fossil because you can use any monster they discard for your own fusion summon, but a lot of decks could take advantage of a free draw and discard, and you don't really want to be giving that to your opponent, especially in graveyard-centric metas. But like Into the Void, it has the future potential and is consistently finding its way into a number of decks. And it's also seeing play in Sky Striker too. The aforementioned Shed All and, you know, Infernity loved it for sure as well. For all the same reasons as Into the Void, Dealings is a completely fine choice with your box chips. And like this man right here, this is a man I trust. I would do a deal with him over the card trader any day. Nothing gives me a sense of deja vu quite like talking about generic spell and trap removal. But Galaxy Cyclone is still one of the better invasive space storms. And I've said it before, can you just keep it in your own local galactic group? Normal spell targets and destroys a set spell or trap, making it far less versatile than Cosmic or MST, and just objectively worse than Night Beam. However, during your main phase, except the turn it's sent there, you can banish it from the grave to destroy a face-up spell or trap. Both effects are hard once. And that doesn't really make it directly worse than any other option, just different. It will never be your first choice for spell and trap removal. It's way too clunky. Like, what if you want to destroy a face-up spell and trap when it's in your hand, and then vice versa when it's in your grave? And it's not like you can use its second effect on your opponent's turn. It's just awkward. But if you're a deck that specializes in dumping cards into the graveyard from your deck, like Burning Abyss or anything with a Lightsworn engine, it can be a nice little tech to mill. And honestly, it's probably safer to run than any other card I've talked about. However, I do not see the best future potential for this card. In fact, I think it's just going to continue to get power crept. Maybe if Konami gives us another decent photon skill that can search it, then it might see play again, but you know, only in that. Swap Frog is my dude. Like, you guys don't get it. It's one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards of all time, and has seen play in Duel Links basically forever. There's occasional meta status and definitely some future potential. Now, level 2 Water Aqua with the effect to special summon itself by discarding any other water monster. You can benefit off that discard too. Then if it's summoned that way or any way, even a normal summon, you can send a level 2 or lower Water Aqua from your deck or field to grave. Now, you'll always be sending from the deck, and it has excellent targets, but by far the best is Rodent Toad, that can special summon itself from the grave. But my man ain't done. On a soft once per turn, he can return any monster you control to the hand to grant you an additional normal summon of a frog monster that turn, except Swap Frog. Probably good they didn't miss that, because you know, his effect isn't a hard one. His second effect is a lot more situational and is kept within its archetype, but its first effect can be excellent for a myriad of water decks and is just straight up an engine for them paired with Rodentoden. A lot of success with Mermail Atlantean. It's great for materials and Crystron, and pairs so well with the Paleozoic cards to go into rank 2s or link 2s like Anemone. Never let me say that word again. And should we ever get totally awesome, Swap Frog could be a rogue to meta card again. He's definitely more specific than some of the other cards here, but if you like H2O and you respect this cute frog that could probably dissolve your face just by touching it, like seriously, don't mess with weird colored frogs. Then get yourself the homie. Got a bit of a two-parter for y'all. I hate to do this, but I don't see talking about the Spellbook Engine without mentioning both Spellbook of Secrets and Magician of Prophecy. More draw engine cards, which is kind of unintentionally the theme of this video now that I'm looking at it. If Prophecy is normal or flip summon, you can add any Spellbook spell card from your deck to your hand. It's on a level 2 water spellcaster. Secrets is a normal spell that can add any Spellbook card from your deck to your hand except itself on a hard once per turn. So the fun thing is, these two cards can search each other, and both can search Spellbook of Knowledge. This is a limit 1 bundle card that you'll need to get to complete the engine, but I mean, bundles aren't a bad deal, man. You get a very comparable amount of packs for the same amount of gems alongside a powerhouse card. Knowledge is also a normal spell and allows you to send to the graveyard either a spellcaster you control or another spell card from your hand or face-up field to draw 2 cards. Certainly a hard once per turn. So these 3 cards make up the Spellbook Engine and sees fair usage in a few things that don't need a limit 1. So like I said, with Into the Void essentially allowing you to run a smaller deck, this hookup does the same exact thing except to an even further extent. If you open either Prophecy or Secrets, then you have the full combo. Secrets could search Prophecy, then you could normal him and search Knowledge, and then tribute him to draw 2. And it works in reverse too. Open Prophecy, you can search Secrets, then search Knowledge Challenge, Tribute, draw 2. And boom, you just thinned your deck by 4 cards. Obvious issue being it taking up your normal summon. However, if you don't need it or have another way to get a spellcaster on board or other spellbook spells in your hand, then it can still be very beneficial. Future-proofed in a few ways, namely losing its limit 1 on knowledge and better spellcaster or even archetypal support. Not something you'll be running in a whole lot of decks, but it's still a nice engine to have in your back pocket. Yeah, you thought we were getting away from the trap cards this time, huh? Well, nah, because Wall of Disruption is still a fine card. Another battle trap. So like drowning in the last part, it's probably going to be destroyed before it's ever activated. But when it does, once again, could potentially win you the game. And I say that as lightly as I can. The opponent declares an attack. You can reduce the attack of all face-up attack position monsters they control times 800 for every monster they control. That sentence was like torture on my voice box. I'm gonna go wash my tongue. So if they control 4 monsters, they're all losing 3200 attack, which makes most things in the game hit 0. Even 2400 off 3 monsters makes pretty much everything in the game, at best, Twin Longrod's level. And here's the kicker, it's permanent. So now your opponent has a bunch of vulnerable, likely 0 attack monsters that you can easily lethal over, and that's its game-winning potential. But it doesn't negate effects, and they stay on the field as resources, and it's generally worse than a lot of other battle traps, and it's a battle trap. However, not a bad later box chips choice. It could be useful, and I very recently ate it real bad to this card. So we're gonna end with a card that I just absolutely adore, and I'm definitely coping putting it in part 2, but I just gotta let everyone know about Trifortressops, man. This is a level 6 Dark Machine hand trap. During either player's turn, if your opponent has summoned 3 or more monsters on that turn, so like every duel you'll play right now, Trifortressops can special summon itself from the hand on 1600 attack and 2800 defense. But also, if it's summoned that way, it's unaffected by other card effects. I mean, this is immunity on a level that Duel Links just doesn't really deal with. I mean, nothing works. Book compulse, no. Yeah, IDP doesn't target or destroy, doesn't matter. He's immune. The only realistic way to get rid of it is a kaiju or by battle. And 2800 defense can wall quite a few decks, but he does lose 500 defense during each of your standby phases as a sort of fail-safe to infinitely stalling with him. It's seen niche to meta play here and there through its life, but it's especially good for any deck that wants to go into rank 6 exceeds. Because if he can wall your opponent, then on your next turn you have a free level 6 body on the field. Yeah, Thunder Dragons loved it for sure, and I've seen it used successfully in Burning Abyss, like for real. It was amazing. I wish I still had that replay. I mean, this is Duel Links Nibiru. Yeah, dude, I'm coping so hard. Far from your first choice, but maybe a more innocuous card that some players weren't aware of. Trifortressops can be very useful and is extremely cheeky. So that's gonna do it for this video. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Level 4 Earth Zombie. During your main phase, on an ignition effect. Actually, wait, is he Earth? I might have fucked that up. Maybe I'll put this at the end of the video. I don't ever do bloopers. I gotta look up Gozuki. I don't know if he's Earth, right? He's Earth. Yes, he is. God, I'm dumb. Knowledge is also a normal spell that allows you to send... Fuck me.